the quote says, "Do not use a hatchet to remove a fly from your friend's forehead." This is a Chinese proverb that probably none of you guys have heard of before. But I'm going to interpret it in my words and personal experience and how overall it has affected me and the person. What this quote means to me is, if you see a friend and she has, she's doing something wrong, you don't want to tell her that she's specifically doing that wrong. You just kind of want to like lay it down on her. Like, you don't want to be like, you're doing this, and this wrong. You don't want to demand things from her or him. A personal experience, I had a friend, she's a girl, and she was going out with this guy for a couple of years, and they're together for about 3 years. But eventually the relationship got a bit, it got kind of violent in a sense, and abusive. So, I mean, clearly they're together because they're sort of attached to each other in a sense. But, I mean, me giving advice to the girl, I mean, usually the victim of that relationship that I saw was, my friend, which was the girl. And I had told her that, I think you shouldn't be with him. But I didn't tell her like that directly because she was in love with the dude. So you can't really convince someone to just let go of somebody when they're clearly in love with the person, regardless of their flaws and whatnot. So, I mean, through over time, months, I kept on telling her that, this isn't going good and I think you guys should break it off. She eventually agreed with me, and the overall benefits towards her was that, she prior to the relationship, she had been through a depression as well. So, I mean, her being in that mental state of mind, it wasn't good for her at all. And after she broke up with her boyfriend, I saw a lot of drastic changes in her. She was a lot more positive. She talked a bit more. She was very outgoing, and she wasn't like that in the relationship. So, my personal experience and what I've learned from, not being so aggressive towards people and certain things that they're doing wrong, it has showed me to be patient, and overall, it eventually benefits the other person.
I think you're going to be more nervous with this. He's actually a boy person.
Oh, he's doing this, right? Oh, yeah.
Like, what is your two?
Three. 4 people? Just be like, hey, I want to do this.
You want to go for me? Guys, you give me a lot.
You feel like how you get there? I want to move it bad. I want to play all
All right, Jonathan, I thought that the attention, you have a little bit of an issue because you basically just use the quote as your attention device, and I think that that's awkward. You do have an interesting thesis statement, but the way you express it is a little ambiguous. You need to be clearer at that. On the other hand, I thought that the example, when I finally figured out exactly what you were trying to say with your thesis statement, I thought the example fit it pretty well, and I think that you did a nice job providing us with some details and trying to make it interesting and conveying some emotional content on that, because because of the way you're relating to the experience with your friend. I thought you did a pretty good job on that. That's basically the only development that the speech gets, though, is that one particular example. So there's not really much structure past that point, and I think you need to be able to develop the argument with other proof rather than a singular example. So I would suggest try and find something else also. On the presentation issues, your voice is fine, it projects well, there's a reasonable variety in the voice. A little bit more energy, I think, would be helpful. I didn't notice any problems with pacing. Your facial expressions, I think you could get a little bit more emotional investment in what you're talking about. Sometimes you usually look at the audience, but there are times when you're looking down. There are times when you're talking about something that is kind of a serious or dramatic subject, and I think the emotions are not always conveyed that way. You do okay with the tone in your voice, but I think the expression on your face needs to be a little bit more elaborate. I sometimes refer to it as the fig leaf posture. That's basically where you're holding your hands in front of yourself. You're doing that for a large portion of the time, and that suggests a little bit of defensiveness. You guys, by the way, I should mention this, everybody. Nobody's been doing too much of this, but if you get the quote out of your hand, you're much less likely to play with it, be distracted by it, that sort of thing. So once you've gotten started and you've told the audience what the quote is, I think you want to stick it in your back pocket, put it on the table, something, so that it's not in your hands distracting you and keeping you from trying to connect with the audience a little bit. All right, thank you.